Hi folks, hope you're all doing well. So today we'll be doing business studies, chapter 1, which is management of business. Okay. So what is management? Management is essential for all organizations, big or small, profit or non-profit, manufacturing or service sector. Now what is a big organization? Big organization, as you know, Reliance Industries, TVS Motors, tractor company, a lorry company, anything which is big. So those are all big organization or big factories. Small organization can be like sericulture or horticulture, right? Those are all small profit making companies. And non-profit making companies are like NGOs, they're non-government organization where they love to do something for free of cost. Okay. Now, coming to the actual meaning of management. Now, this was like a common man or layman's language. Okay. ಇವಾಗ actually ನೋಡೋಣ what is management. Management. So I'm referring your textbook. Okay. So the actual meaning of management is used to refer the principles of managing the activities of an enterprise. As you can see in the second line, the term management is used to refer the principles of managing the activities of an enterprise. What do you mean by this? Let's assume, or it is a fact where your headmistress or the principal of your school wants your students to do very well, outside school in studies or in academics or in sport. So they see to that the activities are achieved through the help of their teachers. Correct. So if you want to be good in studies, your the teacher does well. If you want to be good in the dance teacher. If you want to be good in the sport, the PT master or the sports teacher takes place into the comes into the picture. And enterprise is nothing but the school. The organization slash school is the enterprise. Okay. Now this was okay meaning. Another meaning, ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕಾಂಪ್ಲಿಕೇಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆ, ಸಿಂಪಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಮಾಡೋಣ. Definitely there is another meaning. It was being told by J.L. Hines, where he says management is an art of getting things done to other people. What is that? Simple. The government or the Indian government or the state government wants students to do well, maybe in academics or in whatever field they choose. So it is the art of getting things done through other people. Now, who are the other people? It is none other than our lecturers or the teachers, right? So management is an art of getting things done through other people, is what J.L. Hines says, and this is the definition of management. This, there might be some other person like George R. Terry says that management is a distinct process consisting of planning, organizing, actuating, and controlling performances to determine and accomplish the objective by the use of people and resources. Do not worry, I will explain you all these words. It sounds heavy, but it isn't. It's very simple, and I'll explain you further down the video or later on to the video. Now, basically, there are 6 pillars of management. So if you want to be a very good manager, or your company should have should have good management thing. So these are the 6 things, that is planning, organizing, staffing, directing, coordinating, and controlling. These are the 6 things what you can see, right? So I will explain you later down the video. Now, coming to the principle management, there was a lot of fuss and buzz when the rules of management were being laid out. So finally, a person called Henry Fayol, who is also known as the father of management, came up with 13 points to where an industry should be very successful in having, a success. They should be having a good success to the industry or to the organization. Henry Fayol comes up with 13 rules. Okay, let's look into the rules. The first rule is division of work. Now, what do you mean by division of work? You divide the work to your employees. You means you are the manager of the company. Okay, so you divide the rules to all your employees who know what to do. For example, you are the captain of a cricket team, so you give a ball to a bowler and a bat to a batsman. You don't give a ball to a batsman and a ball to a bowler, or a bat to a bowler, and you know what are the end results, right? So that was what's simple. Or if you want to go for a better example, a cricketer can play cricket and a footballer can play football. If the opposite takes place, you know what's the results going to be happen. You know what the results going to happen. Okay, so that's what the division of work is. Now coming to authority and responsibility. Now authority and responsibility is 2 faces of a coin. One coin ಅಲ್ಲಿ heads ಇರುತ್ತೆ, tails ಇರುತ್ತೆ. Same thing, authority and responsibility. Okay, so if you again take cricket as an example, you want to win a match. Okay, and you want to promote a player up the order. You are the captain of a team, so you want to promote the player up the order. So it is your authority for you to tell the player, instead of playing third down, you go open the batting. Okay, but you have taken the decision. It is the same time, it is your responsibility. If that player gets out, or he goes under, or the team goes under loss, they don't win, you go under loss, you are responsible for it. But at the same time, if you win the match, congratulations, you won it, you made the right decision. That is authority and responsibility. Coming to discipline, it is the most important factor in a management. You need to be very disciplined. All your employees, including you, should be disciplined and have respect amongst each other. Henry Fayol says that if someone is not performing well and is disobeying you, you as again a manager, you have to punish him. ಯಾರು ತುಂಬಾ ಹಠ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ our employee, ಅವ್ರನ್ನ punish ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. So that by giving him penalties, suspending work or giving him some extra work or whatever, it depends upon the organization. So discipline is very important, be it at school level or organization level. So be disciplined. Coming to unity and command. Now, there can be only one captain of a team. They cannot be like, only if there are 11 players in a team, you cannot have all the 11 players as captains. There's only one player, and everyone should follow the player, right? Everyone should follow the captain of the team. So that is unity command. The principle that an employee should receive orders from one supervisor only. So one supervisor is nothing but one captain of the team. Coming to unity of direction. The principle means that each group of activities having the same objective but must have one head and one plan. Now, same objective. Let's take an example. You have a group of 5 friends. Okay, the same objective. You are planning to go out for a vacation. So vacation is the same objective. Enjoy madake. So the objective is enjoyment. Okay, good. Now you have to have one head. ಒಬ್ಬ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ವಿಲ್ ಗೋ ಬೈ ಕಾರ್, ಒಬ್ಬ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಕಾರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ರೂಟ್ ಹೋಗೋಣ, ಥರ್ಡ್ ಪರ್ಸನ್ ಸೇಸ್ ಕಾರ್ ಬೆಟರ್ ಪ್ಲೇನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗೋಣ, ಫೋರ್ತ್ ಪರ್ಸನ್ ಸೇಸ್ ಡೋಂಟ್ ನೀಡ್ ದಿಸ್ ರೂಟ್, ಫಿಫ್ತ್ ಪರ್ಸನ್ ಸೇಸ್ ವಾಟ್, let's stay at home. All 5 people having 5 different ideas will not work out. You need in that case, if you have 5 friends and you have 4 friends including you, that's the fifth person. You being the supervisor should take the decision. You should head the team and you should have a plan saying that, what, we will take the train, we will go in this route, this, and we'll have enjoyment. So that is what unity of direction is. Coming to subordination of individual interest to the general interest. You have to respect your subordinates. You being the captain of a team or the manager of an organization must obey or give respect to your subordinates. Yes, they might be down to you, but when it comes to respect, everyone are equal. Now, for example, subordination of individual interest is general interest. For example, take again the Indian cricket team. As of 2020, Virat Kohli is the captain of the team. But when MS Dhoni and Virat Kohli play together, Virat Kohli goes to MS Dhoni and asks him some questions regarding the field. Again, he is a player. Let's consider him, and he is a player as of 2020, right? So he does that. That's what a true or actual captain or the leader does, or an actual manager does. Remuneration of personnel. I'm at the 7th point. Remuneration means money. You have to give money to your employees. Do not take work or ask help from others free of cost. They once, twice will help out, but not on a long run. So you have to, pay your employees, and they should be satisfied for what payment they do. So that's a remuneration of personnel. Remuneration of personnel. Coming to centralization, again, it is again authority. So if an organization is doing very well, you are to be praised. If the organization is doing poor, you are to be blamed. So that is what centralization. It all depends upon the manager, that is you again. Coming to scalar chain. Scalar chain andre it is hierarchy. What is hierarchy? For example, let's say the government has changed the syllabus. How is it going to impact, or no? How is it going to impact the students? So they're going to tell the government's going to have a meeting. So they're going to call in the ministers. Ministers call in the head of the department. Ministers call in the principal. Principal goes to head of department. Head of department goes to the teacher. Teacher to student. So you see the chain. A bit complicated. I'll make it more simple. Let's say that you want to have some change in a school, right? Nam school ali ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, one building open ಮಾಡೋಣ. Okay, so the principal wants to tell it to the students. ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ? So the principal tells it to the headmistress or head of the department. She will convey it to the teachers in a meeting. The teacher will come and tell the class leader, class mentor. Class leader will tell the students, and finally they get to know, okay, so there is, a building gonna be organized or gonna be built. So that's what, you know scale or chain means. Coming to equity, equity is nothing but, you have to treat everyone, uh, you know yeah. Coming back to equity, equity means, like, you have good employees and you should have make them happy by giving, doing they doing work, and you should be happy with your employees. That's what equity means. Okay? Coming to stability of security to personal, which means you have to tell your employee that, what, you are going to be for this job for some time, so he is happy that he's secured at a hodor, and he tells either, so happily he will do his work, right? He might need, like, suddenly, if they say, if you come and say, what, today is the last day of work, aaj kare ho pedo, go find another job, he will get depressed, he will not perform well, or he will not perform in the other company. So you need to have respect, and you should give security to your employee. Initiative. 12th point, initiative. Now, what do you mean by initiative? You want to initiate something, ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. For example, you want to do something to the school, like every day there is same thing. You want to say, what, we will take, instead of learning, you guys are playing only cricket, let's learn football. So you are initiating. So what do? You go tell your class leader, or you go approach your PT master, and you tell, sir, let's go play this, let's learn this new sport. So that is initiating. Okay. And lastly, esprit de corps. Okay, this is a French word which means unity is strength. As you all know, if you're united, nothing can shatter the business. So if you're all your employees, every manager, everyone is united, the organization will be the best. So that's what esprit de corps means. Okay. Now, coming to the functional areas of management, which I told you, the 6 pillars of management, that is very important. I will tell you: planning, organizing, staffing, directing, coordinating, and controlling. This all can be explained with one beautiful example, which you've all been through and you've all witnessed. For example, let's consider that today is Monday and Friday there's a housewarming ceremony or a birthday party at your place. Okay, today is Monday and Friday is Graduation at your place, or a birthday party, whatever. Some party is going to happen on Friday. So you have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. 5 days for the main event and 4 days for the full thing. So you plan for what to do for the group operation. What is plan number one? You look out for a purohit, or iron noಡ್ತೀರಾ. Second, you start shopping, buying dress or new clothes and new things for that house. All sorts of planning. Three, you look out for a caterer. Okay, catering ನೋಡ್ತೀರಾ, ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ ಊಟ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆ, ಎಲ್ಲಿ cater, ಎಲ್ಲಿ, close by to the house, and whatever XYZ. You start planning out your, you know thing for the group ratio, or for the organ I mean, for the group ratio, right? Now coming to organizing. Now you organize, you have to go to the right place and you have to find out. Now you can't go to a temple and ask a caterer's number, and you can't go to a catering center and ask for a purohit's number. ದೇವಸ್ಥಾನಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗಿ you can't ask catering number ಕೊಡಿ, ನಮಗೆ birthday party ಇದೆ ಇಲ್ಲ ಗೃಹ ಪ್ರವೇಶ ಇದೆ. You will start, that's not good. So you have to organize, ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಏನ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಎಲ್ಲಿ ತಗೊಳ್ಬೇಕು. That is what organizing means. Now, coming to staffing, one person cannot handle the whole situation. It's a huge body, right? So staffing, you need people. So you need right people for the right job. Again, Henry Fayol's rule, division of work. You see, everything is interrelated. Now coming to staffing. So because it is a housewarming ceremony, a group pressure, you will take your family members, the makka, the mawa, mama, mommies, friends, and neighbors, whatever. So you start taking people for the right job. Now you start directing them. Okay. What is directing them? You tell the uncle, the mamas, your mamas and your brothers, you tell, listen, you're all boys, look into the catering section. Aunties and mummies, all of that, you put them into the puja or the decoration part, because they are ladies, don't want to work too much, let them be towards the puja thing. Okay, so you are the manager, you are the person who's taking in charge of the whole group pressure or the birthday party or whatever. Okay, so you're directing them. Coming to the fifth thing, which is coordinating. Okay, coordinating is very important, right? For example, I who's explaining wants to come to your group ratio, and I don't know what to do. I can either go just come inside the house and go have lunch, wish someone I can leave. So I don't know what. So you have to coordinate, right? So you have to tell the kids like welcome the student or when welcome the guest, by the flowers or something. Make them sit in the hall, let them see the puja, or take them to the house, show them the house, then have lunch. Lastly, tamla kodi. I mean, you can say bye bye to them, correct? So that is what coordination is. Okay. Coming to controlling again is your task of how you're controlling the situation. ಇವಾಗ sometimes ತುಂಬಾ ಜನ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ ಊಟಲ್ಲಿ, okay, but what do you do? Some people, so what do you do if the people are already having lunch? You can't tell the others to go stand behind them, right? So you make them sit in a room and you provide them some entertainment or something can be done. That is called controlling. So I hope I've explained you the functional areas of management. These are the basic things. So the six pillars again I'll explain you in a gist. Planning is you plan out for something, what is to be done, what is what. Organizing, you have to go to find man and resource again, guys. Keyword man and resource. Man is nothing but your friends or your family members or whatever. Resource is nothing but like catering, your raw materials, puja items or whatever. Staffing is you find the number of people. You have to take in so many number of people or so much thing. If the function is for like almost like 200 people or something, you need almost like 20 people to have. But if the function is like for 10 people, you can't have like 25 volunteers or 25 staff members. So you need to know exactly how much people for how many, what's the function strength. Coming to directing, you have to direct, coming to directing, you have to direct them how to do, what to do, where to go, where not to go, and stuff like that. Coming to coordination or coordinating, you coordinate one amongst with your team members. You need to know what the project is, you know, uh, whether you just coordinate with your subordinates. And finally, controlling, which is very important. You control the whole process. That is what controlling is. Okay, so that is what can be explained. If you want another example, there's another example which I can explain you. For example, the cricket team. So you want to play, you want to have a match. Okay, so you plan on where to play the match, where the ground, where to buy bat, where to buy ball, stumps, or whatever equipments and anything. Okay, so that is planning. Second is organizing. So you go to people and you start asking. You make a tent or a practice pitch, and you start calling volunteers for your to make a team of 11 to 15 players. You want to choose the best of the best so that you can win against the other team. So you start organizing a practice match or a selection match for the best, the bowler and for the batsman, for the team mainly. So that is organizing. Finally, staffing. So you got the right team, you got the right proportion. So you got like the best 15 players and you got the top 11. So 15 players in a team, 11 players plus 4 subs. So that's how it is. Okay, right. Now you started directing them. You tell, listen, you play very good. You play top order. You're very good at hitting fours and sixes. You play middle order. You're a very good bowler. So you go in the first first over of bowling. So that's how you direct the players. Coming to coordinating, there is good coordination, right? You have to coordinate with the players, your field setup. Okay? Field setup, you have to coordinate. If a player is a right hand batsman, you have to have a good field setup for the right hand batsman. You can't have a field setup for the right hand. When a batsman is a right handed, you can't have a left handed batsman field setup, right? So you have to have that coordination. And finally, controlling. If the run rate of the opposite team, they are go at the urge of winning, but you have to win, you have to pull in, apply some breaks to the scoreboard. What do? You bring in the best bowler or you bring in the best batsman onto the crease. You see to that you win the match. So that's what the best example and the best way to understand the functional areas of management, my guys, friends. Okay, we move on to decision making process. Again, once again, very important to make a decision. The decision making process is it is a mental process resulting in the selection of a course of action among several activities. Right? You can read this over here, the first two lines. Once again, I will repeat, decision making process can be regarded as the mental process resulting in the selection of course of action among several activities. Okay. For example, now you guys, now I will explain you with respect to your mindset. Now let's say you're in ninth standard, and next year you're in 10th. Now after that, what will you do? If you want to become an engineer, you take up science. Or if you want to become doctor, you take up science. If you want to go become, get into bank job or something related to accounts, you take commerce. And something, if you want to do become an IAS officer or district administrator or an actor, you take arts, right? So it is the mental process. So let's look into the definition again. It is the mental process. That's you're taking. It's a mental process resulting in the selection of course. Selection of course is nothing but science, commerce, and arts among several activities. So you want to become a doctor. That is a mental process. You want to become a doctor. You are selecting a course, that is science, among several activities. What are the several activities? As I told you, arts, commerce, and science. So you have chosen science, right? So this is the meaning of decision making, right? Now you need to know the need for decision making process. Okay, I will explain you with an example of a business with respect to your textbook, which will be very simple for you guys when you're studying. So this is the example over here. So consider a businessman. So consider you are a businessman. Okay. Now you are in Karnataka. This is on home state. From Karnataka, Lidiranigo. Now you want to transport some vegetables to Delhi, to the capital. To the capital. So you in Karnataka want to transport vegetables like onion, tomatoes, whatever vegetables to Delhi. There are two ways you can transport. Three ways where you can transport to Delhi. One by air, that is through flight. One by train, that's through rails, and one by buses or truck, whatever. It's up to you. Now, which one will you choose? You need to be very smart enough to now you are on loss. Now you want to make money. What will you do? Will you choose air transport? Will you use a flight? Will you use a rail? Or will you use a truck? Okay, let's look into the three things, and it's up to you how you take a decision. Number one is air. Now from Karnataka, wherever you might be in a village, you have to go to the nearest district, to the airport. From the airport, you have to load the flight, and the flight has to go to Delhi. From Delhi, they have to unload the goods, and it has to go to that respective point. Too much of work, too much of money. Will you take that option? I'll leave it to you. Second thing is bus or truck on by road. As I told you, you are already in loss. You have to make immediate money. If you want to transport vegetables to Delhi from Karnataka, it takes almost like 10 days or 6 to 7 days to go to Delhi. Okay. But you have so much time, so much load? Can a truck carry so much load? Again, think about. Coming to the last thing, which is a rail, through rail. Okay. Now, the nearest railway station will be in every village will have a railway station, or every district will have a railway station. So you can take your goods, your produce to the nearest railway station, load it in a train, in a goods train, or you can own the whole train itself. Okay, just an imagination. You can own the whole train, and you can go to Delhi. It just takes like 24 hours to like 48 hours maximum. You can have like 60 containers of potato or onion or whatever vegetables. So which is more money making, air, lorry, or truck, or railways? If I am the businessman, if I'm in your position, I will take truck. I will take railways. I'm sorry. If I am the businessman, I will take the railways because it is very cheap, it is fast compared to either way, and I get the produce, I get the profit. So that is decision making is very important for any person, mainly in the business field. Okay, now we move on. So there are two types of decision making processes. One is the individual process, another is a group decision process. Coming to an individual decision process, let's take an let's take cricket team. Okay, in a cricket team, who takes the decision? It is the captain. Captain is the individual. He's the only person who takes the decision, not others. Yes, he might consult the other person or the other player or the senior player, but who takes the decision is the captain. Again, once again, we'll take Virat Kohli and MS Dhoni in a cricket team. They're all in a team, right? Virat Kohli asks for suggestions from Dhoni, but who takes the decision is Virat Kohli himself. So he is the individual, he takes the decision. Now coming to group decisions. Now we are all know that we are all facing this coronavirus, this COVID-19, or whatever group decision. It is a group. Now you have to know who has to take a decision. It is the government. The government just does not take. So they call in the ministers and the professional, the health professional, and health department, and the ministry of secretaries. XYZ. So everything is done in a group way, right? So that's why it is a group decision, and finally the government comes up and tells, like, this is what is to be done, this is what is not to be done. Yes and no is done with the help of consultation of so many people. It is done in a group. That is what is group decision. I hope you guys understood. Was it okay? Now, coming to the important elements of decision making. No, to be a good leader, to be a very good leader, or to be a very good manager, you have to have some certain elements to make a decision making. First thing is to establish goals. Let's take the businessman, what I had explained you in the previous slide, the page. He wanted to become rich. He was very poor. So his main goal was he wanted his goal, establishing goals. He wanted to become rich, right? Second one is defining task. He wanted to transport. Transportation is a task. He wanted to transport his goods from Bangalore to Delhi because you can make money in Delhi. Example again. Okay. So he wanted to transport things. So he took defining task. Now, searching for an alternative. He had three alternatives. He can either go by air, he can either go by road, or he can either go by truck, by rail. Which one did he take? He took the rail. Okay, so he took an alternative. Now, this one over here, he was developing plans. He had a plan that he has to go to Delhi. His second plan was, if not Delhi, we will go to Gujarat. Example. So his plan was, if it's not Delhi, we will go to Gujarat or Maharashtra, wherever it is. Okay. Coming to rational thinking and reasoning, he thought and he reasoned why Delhi and not Gujarat or not Maharashtra. Why? Because Delhi is closer compared to Maharashtra, compared to Gujarat. Okay, guys, this is imaginative. Okay, let's imagine Delhi is close compared to Gujarat. Okay, because Karnataka to Delhi is one straight road if you look into the map, whereas Gujarat is towards your west, towards your left hand side. So it is better to choose Delhi compared to Gujarat. Okay, so that's why rational thinking and reasoning. Next, he took the situation. He played with the situation. He wanted to go. Delhi was better compared to Gujarat. So that's why he took the situation was like that. And finally, he evaluated. He got to know in the end, after 10 days or after a week, he got to know that he made a good profit by selling his produce in Delhi than if he had sold to Gujarat or some other state in India. So that's the elements of decision making. Okay. Now, who makes decisions? It is not that everyone can make a decision. There are some people at the right time you have to make a decision. For example, time factor. Very important is time. ಏನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ವಿಧಿ, correct, time. But again, vidhi is fate, but let's go into time factor. He was under loss. Now, if he had sold his produce within the state, within Karnataka, again, he would have not got that major profit. But he took the bold decision to go to Delhi, right? So he took that time factor. Experience. A businessman is always experienced. It is not a fresher. It is not a schoolboy or a baby who takes, to take a decision. You need bit of experience. That's why they say obey or take advice from your teachers and from your parents than your friends, because they are more experienced than your friends. That's why the decision making is always taken by an experienced person. Wise decision. It was his wise decision to go to Delhi and not to Gujarat. Okay. Firm. He was very firm that, you know what, I want to make profit to this company or to myself. ಏನೋ ಮಾಡಿ ನನಗೆ ಹಣ ಬೇಕು, ನನಗೆ ನೇಮ್ ಬೇಕು. So that's why he wanted to go to firm. I mean, he was very firm with his decision. He was very bold. A risk factor. He took some risk. He could have sold his produce to some other state close by, some other district, some other village, within his village itself, within 3 kilometers, but he took 3,000 kilometers. So, which is again too much of boldness. Okay. And finally, he had the clarity. How to I will go there, I will get myself, make some profit and I'll come victorious. So that is what he had the clarity with him. Okay. Now, solving a problem directly linked with decision, the following factors are to be kept in mind while taking a decision. Guys, this is very important for a manager or a management or a captain or a leader or whoever it is to take a decision. The 5 points over here is very important whenever you take a decision. First one is to analyze the problem. Second, planning a course of action. Third, maintaining courage and patience. Fourth, foresightness. Fifth, ability to take quick and wise decisions. Okay, I will explain you with the help of an example. A cricket team is the best example for this. You analyze a problem. You're the captain of a team and you're analyzing a problem that, let's say, your bowler is not bowling well. Why? Just because he's not bowling well doesn't mean that you just remove the bowler, take another bowler. Or if a batsman not playing well, you don't remove the batsman or you don't take in a new batsman. You see his problem. Maybe he might be having injury, or you might be having an injury, or he might be facing some difficulties, family issues or physical issues or whatever. So you need to analyze the problem. Second thing, planning a course of action. Tomorrow is a match. You will not decide anything on the day of the match. You will always have a plan. Like, this player, you'll already know to whom are you playing against. So you will have a plan. So you'll know, like, for this player, this bowler should be bowling. This is the field setup and all that, right? Third one is maintaining courage and patience. The best example is MS Dhoni. Okay? Why? Because he had the courage and patience. He always takes a risk, right? Most of the times he takes a risk and he knows he's paid off. A very example is the T20 World Cup, the first time India won. He had the courage to give the very inexperienced bowler. He was very patient, and in the end, who won? It is Team India. Fourth point is foresightness, looking for long distance. You should always look at a longer distance. You should not look for a shorter distance, right? So you should not think like, what's going to happen for the next over. You should always think what's going to happen after the 10th over if this player or this situation is going to take place. You should always be prepared for what's going to happen. So that's foresightness. And finally, the ability to take quick and wise decisions. This example can another this the best example for this is again MS Dhoni. When it comes to the 2011 World Cup, the best decision, he went up the order. It was a quick, wise decision. He went up the order, and you know what happened in the 2011 World Cup? India won. Okay, so if you know something's not going to happen, it is through your experience and your boldness. You have to take a quick decision so that your company is saved, your organization is saved, and you have a very good name and fame in your company at your organization. Okay, so guys, this is what is today's chapter 1. So I request you to please solve the exercise. So if you have any doubts, please let me know in the comment section. Till then, thank you.